Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. I'm giving a review of action figures. I've been collecting action figures for many years now, and like so many toys, I consider action figures to be actually affordable works of art. I mean, toys in this day and age are made so well and so detailed that they really are works of art, and should be looked at it that way. It's amazing the low cost of a lot of these kind of actual action figures in particular. Trying to get a good feel for this. Keep getting my light on here. And of course, these have now shot up in recent years. In recent years, action figures can sell for several $100s. It appears that the 12-inch action figure market, which I consider works of art, statues, a lot of them are made in limited quantities, are now being collected by serious adults. And of course, I guess this all started with the action figures, which are started with, of course, G.I. Joe, which came out in the middle 60s, and made very detailed action figures, movable figures, highly movable figures with lots of points of articulation, compared to dolls that were made for girls, which were generally made just kind of to give enough movement to get their clothes on and off so they could change their outfits. You really couldn't pose them, even though even female dolls for females now are changing as well. Hasbro hasn't made a 12-inch G.I. Joe in its classic form. I think now it's been over 15 years. There just has been a shift over to many other sizes now. Now 6-inch size is very popular. Things went down to 3-inch, then they went to 6 inches, which is now 8 inches and 12 inches that actually have, and I consider an action figure to be a real action figure. It has to have some sort of physical clothing on them. You know, if they're just made out of entirely plastic, I don't really consider that an action figure, even though obviously it's a toy. But they haven't made these now in years, and the 6-inchers that they're coming out with now have lots of articulation, meaning you can pose them, but they do not have clothes, and they're not really as interesting. And what is typical with Hasbro, with its love-hate with G.I. Joe, is they tend to repeat the same characters over and over again in different sizes. I guess that saves them money, but it's really a shame. And when G.I. Joe came back about 20 years ago, after it left the market because of so-called cost problems, because petroleum went up, which I don't believe, because it was not really true. Hasbro has had a love-hate with G.I. Joe for many years, and seems to have a problem with the 12-inchers, which they made a fortune from, but and then decided to cast them aside. And of course, then they came out with the very popular 3-4-inch ones, and now it's the 6-inch ones, which, as I said, are not really. They're just, I guess they figured kids no longer want, you know, regular clothing and etc. But they really are masterpieces. Let's look at this particular one up close. Now, this is made by Click and Play, a Chinese company. It has over 30 articulation points, which means it's very maneuverable. This I'm not going to remove from the package at this particular time, but it has a beautiful, well-made black suit with lots of weapons. This is kind of a secret agent guy of modern times. So, of course, what would you have? You would have a computer with a cell phone. Laptop, I should say. Really cool. very well detailed. Of course, that's what you're looking for, because you want to look for lots of detail. How well is everything made? How is it sculptured? Is there lots of detail in it? The less sculpturing, the less painting, well, this means you're getting out very inexpensive stuff. And I guess there's a place for kids, but if you're a real collector, what you want to see is these details. Are the guns realistic? This one's got 2 guns. Again, it's 1/6 scale. Here's the side of the package. You know, these have been out for several years now, and, you know, I hear a bunch of G.I. Joe collectors, particularly a few people on YouTube, who constantly cry and are collecting all the old stuff when there's some really great articulated figures coming out. As I said, some of these are in the hundreds. This happens to be one of these affordable ones that you can get for 20 bucks. So you can't beat it. I mean, these are actually much better than Hasbro ever made, even though Hasbro has made some high-quality 12-inch figures in the past. A lot of what they put out was junk, which is really insulting because, you know, G.I. Joe has always been supposed to be high quality, high articulation. But when they brought it back, thanks to Target, who put the money up, which is even more insulting, they brought back figures that only had maybe 5 or 10 areas of articulation, bad bodies, not the things that G.I. Joe is known for, or a good action figure. Now, a good action figure has to have regular clothing. It cannot have solid clothing, or at least a portion of it. An action figure generally has to be 12 inches to be taken seriously, so you get the detail. And it has to be highly articulated in general. So now this changes, and of course price comes into it, and there's many different manufacturers that were made out there through Walmart and other places that sold inexpensive figures 15, 20 years ago. And these had a certain limited amount of articulation. And then, of course, the articulation started to improve, meaning they added a lot more to it for these kind of lesser cost figures that you get through Walmart, Kmart, and other places, which you can now find online. But this is something that's relatively new. Let me see if I can find an actual date on this. Yeah, 2016. Okay. So these aren't that old at all in terms of what's out there in the toy market. You can find these online easily. This is just super high quality for a good price. These whole World Peacekeeper line of action figures are really high quality, excellent, and fairly priced. And a lot of times you can find these figures which are made in China under a bunch of different names in different stores that will have them exclusively in terms of the fact their own outfits, what they look like, etc. And I've seen these sell for as little as $10 to $20. And for something of this high quality, you just can't beat it. So we do need to keep that in mind. There is a variance of the figure that is a shaved head figure. So that's the other one. It has a slightly different suit on and different weapons. This is actually the secret agent one that I have. Has the black suit, has the hair. But I mean, the head sculpts, the way these are made, the articulation of them is just fantastic. Let's look at that again. As I said, it's all about detail. And don't be looking to Hasbro's junk that they're putting out now and their problems with. As I said, there's been some great lines in the past, but you have to be careful. A lot of their lines have big, bulky hands. They are more kind of for, I guess, kids to play with, children. But I don't think that. The thing that made G.I. Joe what it was the fact that it was so posable. If you can't pose it and it's got big gooky hands and the weapons are crude, well, that's not what made G.I. Joe G.I. Joe. Was the fact that it was highly detailed and highly posable. And that's not what they put out when they brought the 12-inch back many years ago. Paid by Target. It was really a very inferior figure in terms of its posability, and everyone was disappointed. And they asked for your feedback, and of course everybody said, well, it's not posable enough. Plain and simple. You want to be able to pose it, you want things to look realistic, and of course you need something that has, like this does, at least 30 points of articulation. And this is something that the more the better. I mean, some figures, you'll find that the hands are, the fingers move. I mean, you can really get high up in articulation, and I don't know if you really want to get into that, but the connoisseurs that want to really do it. But, you know, I'm a connoisseur that looks at the actual, how things are made. What is the actual body? How does it move? You want to look at all that. And it doesn't matter the brand. Is it made good? Certainly Hasbro has the money, but good God, if you expect them to really do things right with their 12-inch figures. Now, most of their toys are well made and tend to be detailed, but I don't get with the 12 inches with some people, and particularly Hasbro. I guess there's a cost factor. I'm not really sure what that's all about. But they keep trying to bring action figures back, but apparently action figures are bought by adults, middle-aged adults who remember them from their childhood and buy these expensive ones. But, you know, who wouldn't want to buy this and give it to a kid for 10 or 20 bucks? I mean, you know, it's an exciting toy to have. And, you know, not everything in life is in front of the TV screen and pressing buttons and all this other stuff. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but which is highly addictive, and you tend not to be that creative. What video games do is they make you reactive. You're reacting. You're not really thinking. You're doing what the computer tells you to do. And, of course, guess what? That's exactly what they want. So here's an exciting action figure from the World Peacekeeper line. There's many different variations of this and accessories and all sorts of cool things which come with that. This is the Secret Agent one. And here you can see on the back the two variations of it. I hope you like this. Always check below to see if there's any pertinent links. Remember, thumbs up and subscribe. Many more action figures, special limited editions coming, and we need your support.